We're coming at you out of Stockholm here at the finals after the last match between Fnatic and Origin. And with me yet again, I have Deilor. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We're just gonna head crash first right into this. The first question, obviously, is looking at the matches we just saw, which were quite intense, actually. The first one in particular, sprang to mind as being the first time in months where it looked like anyone has surprised you guys in any way or form. What caught you off guard?
I wouldn't say that we got caught off guard, but it happened that we did two crucial mistakes. That there were that we let them have the lane swap, and that we messed up a freeze in one of the side lanes. So this led into Gangplank having a huge advantage of CS compared to Lulu, and this kind of snowball. We had to scale, and they just had a super strong mid game. Also, this was the game that they had Varus, yeah. So not being able to put Lulu in a strong position made them that they could split push forever, and they could actually siege without us having enough engage. So it was just that we did these two critical mistakes with a composition that we cannot take these kind of mistakes, because if they get the advantage in the early game, they will be able to siege for free.
Okay, so it wasn't like the faker complex in which you've become so good you're no longer afraid of other opponents.
In fact, we were not afraid of them, but we just lost because we misplayed, and yeah, it's basically this.
Okay, we were discussing before this interview, actually. If we'd have been a bit semantic, you should have talked to us yesterday, because then you wouldn't have lost a single match since last time we talked, and that would have been a great way to start this clip. But we're going to have to do it differently. But going into that, I mean, your squad has proved itself beyond a doubt. You were good when you started, but you're untouchable right now. We're in the age of Fnatic somehow. And last we spoke, I mean, we talked a lot about the fact that you'd come in and you'd taken over this squad of not inexperienced people, all of them, but still somewhat fresh to the scene. What's it been like getting them in shape for all of this?
Okay, the thing is, even though they were fresh in the first split, we played the playoffs, and then we had best of 5 against HUK. We had best of 5 against Unicorn 5 games, both series. Then we went to MSI, and we had international competition. We had exposure to all these teams, so we learned a lot. Then we had another best of 5 against SKT, again to 5 games. Okay, so it's like kind of, even though we've been together like 8 months, it's like we've been exposed to high pressure situation, multiple best of 5s to the 5th game, and we've gone through a lot of things. So, and also going into the second split, we have Rekkles over Steelback. Rekkles is a player that has a ton of experience. So it's not like they're not fresh anymore. They have a ton of experience. And also, since the beginning of the first split, spring split, we worked a ton on our mindset, controlling our emotions, and being focused, etc. All this. So it's been like a continuous work on the basis, on being able to control our mindset.
Well, speaking of mindset, actually, that brings us to another interesting question, because I mean, you're a very different coach than many of the others coming from the professional poker scene instead of coming from League of Legends, like a lot of them do. And your squad is fairly young, and yet they're dealing with pressure fantastically. You don't really see them choke, you don't brick, you don't have any of these like tantrums you've seen other players go through when they change to the big scene. What do you do? How do you prepare them for the mental pressure?
Okay, first would be teaching them to understand how their brain works and how their feelings work, and what's the impact of their emotions, okay, in their decision. So when you create a basis, like a solid place where to start, then you can start explaining them more in depth. So every time a situation happens where, let's say, they're not in the mental state that they should be, then you can explain, okay, this happens. This was the trigger, this was the pattern. Okay, and they understand it, and then next time they were better prepared to take it. Okay, and also it's extremely helpful that, for example, Yellow Star is in the team. Being able to explain the things from like the very basic stuff, the players being really hard workers, and having the help of Yellow Star, it makes it so much easier to reach this point where the players, even of course none of us are like perfect. Our mindset is not like it should be in every situation. They've reached a point that I don't think they will break down or they will have major issues.
Okay. Well, speaking of experience, speaking of Yellow Star and everything, you've got Rekkles back now, and that dynamic duo is back to their old tricks. Has this made it easier to pull off some kind of plays? Because, I mean, obviously they already know each other and they kind of have this synergy going.
Yes, it's actually way more easier because both players really know each other. So the synergy between both of them is extremely high. And even though Steelback was a good ADC, the synergy is like nothing compared. It's like the amount of like I was going to say the amount of plays, but it's not really the amount of plays. It's like how they play the laning phase, how they transition to the mid game, the roaming game of Yellow Star, and how Martin adapts to the team. It's so much easier to play. The strength of our bot lane, having Rekkles and Yellow Star, is higher just because the synergy is so high, and because the synergy was so high since Rekkles arrived to the gaming house. Then improving is way easier, and doing compositions, playing around them, around the bot lane, putting the bot lane in a losing 2v2 or in a winning 2v2, everything. We as a team work way faster. It's way easier to play.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us. And for the rest of you out there, for more on the LCS, stay tuned to elitemat.com.